Okay, well, as thank you for that introduction. As I said, my name is Garrett, Dr. Garrett Bradford. I am a professor at Florida Atlantic University, and let me tell you a bit about who I am. I'm a professor of psychology at FAU, and in my field of work in psychology, I focus on infant perceptual development. So that is the development of the mind through in infants and in very early childhood, the first 12 to 18 months of life, and how babies perceive the world and learn how to be humans in that world. And particularly, we're going to look at um, how language growth happens in children. So, in these very first months of life, I work with my esteemed colleague, Dr. David Lukowitz. He is also a professor of psychology here at FAU. He's been here for many more years than I have. I'm recently joined the faculty here, but it's been a pleasure to really work with an internationally recognized authority on infant perceptual development and the effects of early experiences in life on the development of language and the growth of the child's mind. His work really focuses on babies' perception of the social world and how everyday experiences shape their understanding of this world. So I wanted to mention Dr. Lukowitz because I when I was getting my doctorate, was reading his research, and it's just a fantastic opportunity to be able to join FAU's faculty, psychology um, faculty, and work with him. So yeah, today we're looking at how babies learn to speak by watching you. And when I say read my lips, that is literal. The babies are looking and watching not only our eyes, our facial expression, but at a certain point, they really focus on our lips uh, to learn how to speak, to develop language skills. So, as many of you likely know, being parents, um, babies are learning a lot at this in these beginning years, in this beginning year, in the first months. You know, they are learning to sit up and how to grasp a toy, who's mama, who's dada, how to eat food, how to breastfeed, and you know, most importantly, and again, the focus of my work is learning how to speak, learning how to communicate. So, learning language is, of course, we all speak different languages. Uh, Language learning is a coordination of many skills, and you can see many of them on the screen here. You know, the brain must interpret the sound that is coming in through our ears. We hear words, and then we have to map those words and sounds onto visual objects within within an environment, actions and movement that is happening within the environment that we're perceiving. But you know, what you might not expect is that for babies, while all that information, sound, words, objects, the environment in which they perceive all these things are quite important. Um, it's important for babies to be able to see and read lips. It's just as important for them to see that visual cue as the sound and the words that they hear used in language. And new research coming out of Florida Atlantic University from our team of experts is really showing that children truly learn how to speak by reading lips. And we're going to focus specifically on that aspect of language learning. So we conducted a study of 180 babies in groups, kind of divided up between 4 months of age, 6 months of age, 8, 10, and 12 months. And recently our results, our study, were published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And while we, the researchers, we already knew that babies use social cues like looking in the eyes of the other person or observing facial expression. We really wanted to focus on how much they focused on lips. So how did we do this? We used a device, as you can see on the screen, kind of like a headband with multiple cameras and little computers to observe eye movement, and you can actually spatially track where a child is looking when you put on a device like you see on the screen here. We placed this headband camera eye tracking device on the babies, and then we placed them in front of a television set and showed them videos of a woman speaking in English or another woman speaking in Spanish. Now, what's important to note here is that all the babies all these 180 babies that we used in the study, they came from English only families. That is, their parents, their siblings, if they had them, the environment in which they came from was an English speaking environment. And that'll be key for later on when we get to, again, the lip reading aspect of the children when they heard Spanish. So during the video, again, a woman on screen, the researchers, we used this device to track where the eyes gazed and the duration, so how long they were fixating their eyes on certain portions of the woman's face or whatever was on screen. So here you can see a bit more detailed diagram of what we observed, what we used. I won't go into details about what the little circles and squares and different lines on the baby's face and on the speaker's face mean, but what happened when the babies heard each speaker on screen? Again, English speaker and then a Spanish speaker. Well, when the speaker on the video monitor spoke in English, the 4-month-olds gazed mostly into her eyes. The focus of the 4-month-olds were the eyes. Then in the 6-month-old group, they looked equally at the eyes as well as the speaker's mouth. And then here's where we saw a shift from where the child is looking equally at the eyes and the mouth to the 8 and 10 month olds. And this is key in our research and the focus of our latest study that we published. The 8-month-olds and the 10-month-olds, when placed in front of the screen, looked mostly at the speaker's mouth. And then in the final round of the study, we observed that the 12-month-olds started shifting their attention from the mouth. Again, 8-month-olds and 10-month-olds were focusing mostly on the mouth. And then at 12 months, they started shifting their attention back towards the speaker's eyes and less on the mouth. Now, I mentioned that these children came from English speaking homes, English only. So what happened when when we introduced a language that they were not familiar with? When we introduced a Spanish speaker on screen, we saw that the 12-month-olds studied the mouth longer. That is, they they were gazing and fixating on the mouth when they heard a new language, an unfamiliar language, uh, on screen. Their attention went and they fixated back on the mouth when they were hearing English before at 12 months. They were not fixating so much on the mouth, but more on the eyes. So we see this attempt to look at the mouth to determine, to distinguish what is being communicated. So these children, they're looking back when they're hearing an unfamiliar language. They struggled to interpret, as we observed, the information that was being spoken, and they needed extra cues to make sense of the unfamiliar sounds. So what cues were they looking for? Well, whatever cues they were looking for them in the mouth. What do we know about language development? Our thinking is that the children, when they shifted, these 12-month-olds shifted their attention when hearing an unfamiliar language to their mouth, they were really trying to access the most accurate information that represents the speech of their native language. That is, they heard something different, they look at the mouth, and they're trying to figure out what is being communicated to me. Does any of this sound like anything that I am familiar with, in this case, in English? And this study really aligns well with what we know when it comes to language development in infants. Around 6 months of age, babies start cooing and jabbering, and when I say that, I mean they repeat syllables. So you can imagine, a 6-month-old saying ba 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 ba, da 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 da, or ma 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 ma, until we see that repetition of those syllables, those like mama, dada, all that, until their first words start to emerge, until they start to actually produce their first words at about 1 year of age. So that means at around age 6 months, babies are trying to determine how to make those speech sounds they've been hearing all along. So up to 6 months, they've been hearing it, and they've been hearing it, but mostly observing the eyes. And now they shift their attention down to the mouth. They're trying to watch the lip movements to help form the words and to distinguish the words. And they have to use that information to then imitate. If you've ever spoken to a child between 8 to 12, or 6 to 12 months old, often you'll see that shift. Like, they may start real quick at the beginning at the eyes, but they really quickly will, if you're observant, move their eyes down to your lips, and they're watching how you are forming your words. It's fascinating. So what is really helpful about this is it can also be we can also look at the early indicators of language difficulties and language development. What we have already gone through and what I've presented is like the normal development of language in children. But it really provides us a framework for looking at the early indicators of language development difficulties. For example, with children with autism, they have a tougher time shifting their focus away from the lips and going back to the eyes at 1 year of age. We saw that autistic children are delayed in shifting their attention. They tend to focus and pay attention to the mouth of the speaker at age 2. So rather than shifting their eyes back up, or they're shifting their eyes back to looking at the speaker's eyes, as I mentioned before, it typically happens in a normal developing child at 12 months of age, 12 months of age. They will continue focusing on the speaker's mouth and not return their gaze when listening to mom, dad, another person, uh, to the eyes around 1 year of age. So it can really be an indicator of any challenges they're having. And it's not necessarily just autistic children, but children with other development challenges in developing language. Um, and these truly are the building blocks of good social skills. The ability to make small talk, make demands from other adults when they reach adulthood in the workplace, being able to read nonverbal cues and interpret sarcasm and emotion. So if children are not able to make that normal shift in attention, uh, we really recommend practitioners consider evaluating the child for language learning disorders or difficulties, because this early critical time of developing language abilities and communication abilities can have long-term effects when they are older. So I was gonna go really quickly through what along with the American Speech Language Hearing Association, developed these different milestones in language development that occur during infancy, and infancy is defined as the first 12 months of age. So the ASHA developed these with many experts in the field, including myself and Dr. Lukowitz, who I mentioned earlier. So at 0 to 3 months, children often they get quiet, they smile when spoken to, they often recognize your voice and quiet down if they are crying. They have sucking behaviors when they hear certain sounds and make pleasure sounds, and they smile when they see you. So that's normal childhood development in the first 3 months of age. And then when we move into the 4 to 6 months range, children move eyes in their eyes in the direction of sound, so they hear it and they can actually cast their gaze towards the thing making a sound. They can respond to different tones of voice. They notice toys, as you can see in this image, that make sound, pay attention to music, babble, make sounds with like the p sound, the p, the b, m, ma, ba, pa. They chuckle, they laugh, and they vocalize excitement and pleasure. And then at 7 to 12 months, children are much more engaged in games like peekaboo, pat a cake. They can turn their bodies in the direction of a sound. They listen when spoken to. They can start to recognize words from things that they encounter in their environment: cup, shoe, book, juice. They respond to requests: come here. Do you want more? They use more gestures. They seem to imitate. They do imitate different speech sounds. And they may even, there at the latter part, towards 12 months, start to speak their first words. So all in all, I want to encourage you to, if you're a parent or a future parent, or if you have any children in your life, start talking face-to-face to the babies in your life. It can really enhance their abilities. I mean, it's crucial to their development. Those first 12 months is not the time to place a child in front of a screen, but rather face-to-face communication. Leave the iPads, the TVs, the phones to the side and talk to your baby. The important thing is in all of this, your baby is making a connection between what she's hearing and seeing and what you are saying and what is being expressed on your face. So again, talk with your baby and don't be surprised when your baby starts talking back to you. That's the most fun part of all of this. Thank you so much.